Hi everyone, welcome back to the latest episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Today I have two guests, Chris Geary and Marie Parnell. Chris is an education entrepreneur, investor and non-profit leader focusing on developing and scaling initiatives and technologies that lower barriers and reduce inequalities. He founded BSD Education in 2013, an education software curriculum provider that enables teachers in schools to teach students digital skills. Marie Parnell is a driven entrepreneur and the director of Australia's largest private TESOL training provider, ATA TESOL College. She aims to revolutionise the English teaching and learning market. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
Hey everyone, buckle up for a new episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast, the one and only podcast made to help you launch your business or take your existing business to a level of success you could never have imagined. Whether you're a school owner, freelancer, publisher, or other entrepreneur, you're sure to pick up lots of actionable advice when you listen to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Remember to visit eflmagazine.com for great articles and features. Without further ado, here's your host, the founder of EFL Magazine, Philip Pound.
Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. And today I have two guests. That's, I think, the first time ever for the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. We're really going places. And I have Marie Parnell, and she's the CEO of Australasian Training Academy, ATA. And also Chris Geary from BSD Education. Good morning.
Good morning, Philip.
I don't know where I should start. This is, I have to juggle two guests. So, Marie, I'll start with you. Where are you today?
I'm actually in Brisbane. Our head office is Brisbane in Australia. The company's head office, but obviously from the name, as you've mentioned, it's Australasian Training Academy. We actually, our market base is the whole of Asia. So, and Australia is part of Southeast Asia.
Okay, so when you say your market base is the whole of Asia, can you name some countries there that you operate in? Or
okay, we have a little. We started off in Japan. Japan is probably our pioneer city. I have a lot of contacts in Japan. We moved on to China. China is our next. Has surpassed Japan in the acquisition of the English language, ESL. This is prior to the pandemic. Things have changed in China, but I won't cover that. We also have been delivering TESOL programs in Vietnam prior to the pandemic, actually running and working with EduCap, which is the education arm in Vietnam. And we ran classes in Ho Chi Minh. We started in Ho Chi Minh and we deliver all the way to Hanoi. So Vietnam is another big area. And then Thailand. We do a lot of work through my introduction to you, Philip, was through Jobs in Japan. As I said, Jobs in Japan has been our pioneer country.
A shout out there to Peter Lackner and Jobs in Japan. Hello, Peter. Sorry, go ahead, Marie. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And we work with Ajahn.com in Thailand.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and we
Phil, isn't it?
I've got his name anyway. Yeah, with Ajahn.com in Thailand. We have been making inroads in one of the places, Indonesia cities, our neighbor. So we work in Indonesia as well. Cambodia is our next challenge, actually. As a country, they're wealthy now, the need to learn English. We work with a volunteer organization in Cambodia currently called Conversations with Foreigners. So purely on a volunteer basis, Cambodia doesn't pay that much, but the rewards working with Cambodians, they're the most happy people, in spite of all the things they had to go through with Pol Pot. So purely volunteer basis at the moment with Conversations with Foreigners. But obviously, Asia, we are very big in Asia.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. So can you give me some numbers as to how many students you currently have, or each year, or in total?
Okay, we're going to be very transparent here. Prior to the pandemic, we already, obviously, the company's been going, this is almost going to be our second decade, so 2003, so 20 years. We've actually graduated over 28,000 teachers over the 20 years because of our association with Seek Learning, which is part of Seek.com, the largest online company. With the pandemic, the border's been closed, has actually been one of the questions I guess I looked at was the challenges of COVID. COVID actually was basically coming in and turning the taps off on us because obviously you can't go anywhere, and even Hong Kong, I've always put Hong Kong with China. Even Hong Kong, you can't go anywhere. And with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and smarttraveller.gov.au putting travel warnings over the last 2 years, we are ruled, the company is Australian, we are ruled by the governance of our country. So if they say do not travel, we cannot ask them to travel. So we hit probably the biggest brick wall COVID has given to us. In saying that, we still have students teaching online, and lately China's just stopped the online teaching. That's another story. Which if you have another hour, I can go through that.
Yeah, well, I know you did mention that and said I don't want to mention that, and it's just for lack of time, is it? Do you want to give your what would we say, your thumbnail on the China situation? Can you give me a couple of minutes on that?
They've stopped all the big online companies to learn English online and any extracurricular outside school hours.
Well, thank you, Marie, for that, rainbow bridge there to Chris, because, juggling two guests is a new thing for me. Actually, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And knit two together. So Peter Lackner got in touch and he suggested, what did he say, Marie? And then I'll get on to Chris.
Would you like me to answer it, or?
Just first, and then I'll move to Chris.
Just quickly, Peter Lackner came to him and said, knowing the challenges of ESL teachers, and I've written an article for you for that, about the challenges of ESL, all the roadblocks, not being able to travel, the online teaching, maybe giving a skill set to my teachers, was already teaching English, giving them a skill set in teaching digital literacy. Obviously, when I spoke to Peter, I said to Peter, my teachers don't know anything about coding. They don't know anything about, obviously, and they go, oh my goodness, you need to be a tech savvy person. He said, no, this program, have a look at it. It's got all the curriculum written all the way, and, really they can teach English. This would be a skill set that would enhance their I guess, employability. And as a company that focuses on outcomes, I mean, we believe in the best training, obviously, but it's not a standalone. We've always believed in outcome for our graduates. So if you're going to do the training with us, we have I guess we want to make sure there's something for you at the end of it to put to practice what you've learned with us. And obviously, straight away, I thought, wow, Peter, you've just lit the fire straight under me. And that's how it all came to be. And then obviously, that's how it started.
Wow, the wonders never cease with Peter. But I'll move on to Chris. And Chris, I just, if you'd like to continue or build upon what Marie was saying there. But first, you're in Hong Kong today, is that right? Or in most days? Or now every day.
Every day for the last almost 800 days, I think now. Oh. But I'm in Hong Kong. I live here. But as obviously like Marie's described with ATA, she's very much regional and international, and BSD's education is like that as well. We're actually a globally remote company, so that's a shift that we've made during the pandemic. But we have our team is based around the world, primarily distributed across Asia and North America, and right now we work in about 16 different countries around the world. So East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Middle East, and North America.
Okay. And so, Peter, did you know Peter Lackner before? You didn't know Marie. There was an introduction made. How did that happen?
The connection. Yeah. So the connection actually with Marie was made. So we have a joint venture and a very close partnership with Mango Steams, which is led by Julian Warden. And so it was Julian who, obviously Julian represents us in all of kind of Northeast Asia, and Julian had contact with Marie, and so he'd made the connection of that conversation, and worked closely with Marie, myself, and the rest of our team in saying, okay, how can we make this offering something that would really work? Because there are challenges for maybe someone comes in and sees themselves as, I'm going to go on this English language learning journey, and I'm a native English speaker, so that sounds pretty simple. And then suddenly you throw them a curveball and say, how's about English language and technology? But actually, what we've really introduced, and what BSD has uniquely developed a core competency in, is taking individuals who want to be an educator with any background. So no prior experience required. You don't need to be a hardcore technologist. You just need to have a willingness to learn and some natural ability for education. And then we've been able to take people with what we've created with a kind of a scaffold them with software and evidence-based, specially certified curriculum and resources, and then supporting people. You can actually bring them into that education domain quite easily, and they can, obviously an educator progresses in their learning on an ongoing basis. You don't need to know everything to get started. But so we were able to work with Marie, put together a certified learning package with her. And then, this is becoming a huge focus for us. There are demands for technology tutors or digital skills tutors or coding tutors, and the language is pretty interchangeable because it's so developmental. It's not really defined anywhere, but everywhere in the world has shortfalls of technologists to enter the business world. Education systems are not set up to deliver this. Even where you've got teachers in traditional educations willing to take up the challenge, they then often just get smothered and strangled by the bureaucracy of the school that they exist within. And, what the world needs is, the world's got this desperate need for a huge capacity of people who want to teach up and young people or adults reskilling about the digital skills that are needed for these amazing careers and job opportunities that are popping up everywhere. And so, we're seeing this as a huge trend for us right now, literally everywhere in the world. And the thing is, like we'd identified with Marie, there's a really close intrinsic connection between English language and technology. Because if you're going to program something, and almost in anything that you learn in technology, you're going to end up programming something, understanding programming languages, coming across programming languages. In many software products, the documentation and the origin language of the product is English. A lot of the thought leadership and methodologies are developed in the English-speaking world still. And so the English language becomes a really important and an interconnected part of being a technologist, having digital skills, and being in the kind of that workforce of the future. And then when we extrapolate that, if people think about their careers, when you're working globally, when you're working internationally, you need, call it that global language. And English is still a global language of business. Like it, lump it, that's not what we're debating. It's a fact. And so, within that, English language, technology learning are intrinsic, and they are highly interconnected. And at the base level, if you are someone who says, I want to gig, I want to be my own boss, I want to travel the world, I want to earn good money when I'm doing it, this is one of the best ways to do it right now.
Mm-hmm. So, for speaking to Julian a few months back, and maybe during the TOEFL conference back in August, people are under the impression, especially English language teachers, okay, this is all people who are good at mathematics. So, what Julian said and what you're saying, Chris, is that's actually not the case. That
No, it's really not. It's, people have this, call it, they have, when they think about digital skills and technology, the mind very quickly goes to software engineers. And software engineers are a very particular breed of human. And well, maybe in the future, a particular breed of robot, who knows, with where AI is going. Software engineers are individuals that have taken a long and intensive journey into writing programming languages and creating software from the ground up, and that with a foundation in computer science. But that's a tiny percentage of what digital skills actually represents. When we look at digital skills in the real world now, and there's this massive kind of alphabet soup of technologies and acronyms that go behind it. But you've got in the end, you've got people who create content, you've got people who analyze data, you've got people who design. And when you take languages as a direct correlation with technology, anything that I ever write, there's in almost every first language learning or any language learning curriculum or syllabus, you get to a point when you're learning a language, when you begin to think about what different types of language do you use based on speaking to different types of people. In simple terms, I'll use a different vocabulary when I'm speaking with an adult compared to if I'm speaking with a child. That point, that simple mindset, of course, there's a technical aspect of knowing more words or less words, but there's a mindset there, there's an empathy there to thinking about the individual in front of you and how you're communicating. And technology has a lot of those characteristics and values as well. If I create a product that is going to be used 100% by people on mobile phones, in simple terms, then I'm going to design that with the interface of a mobile phone in mind first. And so what I'm thinking about that is user experience design. There are hard skills, technology packages that enable me to do that well. There are the soft skills of interviewing and speaking to people, communicating with people about that. And then there are the values of simply having the empathy for the user and the kind of device that they might be using. And so when I think about that, that's so strongly interconnected with the principles and values when you're learning to communicate. And if you're learning to write in the English language and then you're writing something that's then going to be read on a mobile phone, everything's in the same place. You're using the language, you're thinking about the font setting that you're using and all of those different things in order to make the reading experience of what you've created as strong as possible. And so this is where the learning of a language and technology has become intertwined. It's not separate anymore. And that's something where many people who are simply adults have grown up in the world and just start to maybe just think of differently about what they already know. Automatically they become a technologist.
Okay. So Marie, I wanted to bring you in here on that. So the potential for technology in the classroom and the job opportunities.
Job opportunities. At the moment, as I said, we've launched during the pandemic, the online teaching. I agree with Chris, giving them the additional skill set so that they can they're already tutoring students that are learning English as a second language. And I'm always, any business that I've set up, I've always had the end result, and that is the users, which is other students in my case, the graduates of ATA TESOL, and giving them an opportunity to use it. And as I said, from speaking with Peter, it sort of lit the fire straight underneath me, because I can see the trend is, you're right, any job, if you look at, and as I said, our association with SEEK learning because of seek.com. One of the things I do on research is go through all the advertisements. Even just any normal job, they're looking for digital literacy. So if you want a job nowadays, if you don't have those skills, you're not going to get work, even if you have the qualifications. So I thought, well, if they're already teaching students the English language, which is English literacy, digital literacy is a great, shall we say, a marriage partner for the students to learn as well. So this will enhance and give them more, shall we say, income opportunities. So because we do actually have a challenge in technology at the moment with AI, being able to, you can now, get programs that translate and teach and all that, but you'll never ever replace the social economic aspect of it, where you can see the teacher socially teaching and, they have all the expressions and they'll never replace it. So we need to have an edge. And I think our collaboration with BSD will enhance, if not better, our ESL teaching part as well. And with Zoom, that's the other thing the pandemic has brought out. There's so many platforms that they can teach from nowadays. Previous to the pandemic, teaching English online was sort of all right, we prefer face-to-face. But technology platforms like Zoom has allowed, I now prefer meetings via Zoom. Because, when you go to a face-to-face meeting, you get ready, you got to go, drive there, waiting in the waiting room, you know what I mean? Whereas this, you can just jump on, hey, have your cup of coffee, 12 o'clock on. So same thing now. Students are quite open to learning online. So they already have a database of students, add digital literacy to it, and it is something they need. I'm a believer of, if you're going to train anyone, train them in something that they need. It's going to be beneficial. And this is where I see us going forward. And my absolute belief and passion that digital literacy will work very well with my ESL teachers.
So you said a very important word there, need, wasn't it? I heard an anecdote from somebody. Yeah. They said, where is the best place to sell hot dogs? And, it was in an MBA class and people were saying, you should focus your marketing here. This demographic should have like a kind of gourmet hot dogs. And the guy said, no, where the hungry people are. So that's where the need is. There's a need in it. So, but sometimes it's difficult to communicate that need to schools, for example, if they want to, embark on teaching technology. There's newer entrants to the market, early adopters. There's always going to be few, and maybe those people are very passionate. But, there's a period of education, isn't there? Are you finding that for schools to adopt teaching technology?
A take on that is on from my side, because we've been call it the focus of BSD from the start has been enabling educators, and the first place obviously you go for that is schools. And there are a lot of constraints on schools, because you've got schools that still cling to the adage of, well, we're not just here to prepare people for careers. There's more of a dimension. My argument is always that, well, yeah, but if you don't prepare people for careers, they're not going to be very happy with you in the long run. And I think the pandemic has accentuated the extent to which students and parents are demanding the relevance of education to careers. And that's something that schools have struggled with. Then when you then look at a school and you look at the fact that the people who operate schools haven't been in business most of the time. And so then if they're turning their dial towards, call it how the learning connects to the business world, but they don't know about the business world, they find that incredibly challenging. And call it the knife through the heart is often the fact that, well, our country's exam system doesn't test this, so we're not going to teach anyone to do it. I'm speaking to schools at the moment that are closed, they're going online, and they're saying, so because we're teaching online, we're not going to teach any computing until it's back offline. If you think about that for a second, it's a little bit weird. But but the fact is, it's when you think of it from the school's perspective, it's about, Well, they're going to reduce everything back to simply the test. And so obviously there's a massive issue with the organizations in the world that set the tests. But what this means is, to draw this back to what Marie and I have teamed up to bring to the world, is we can't rely on schools. We cannot rely on the schools for this. And in many places, the teachers might not, in many circumstances, the teachers might not actually be the people for this, But what we've got is, if we've got millions of people in communities and in tutorial businesses or tuition centers who are going to pick up this mantle and are going to, who've got real world experience and who are going to learn to teach English and learn to teach technology and either travel the world or bring that to their local communities, then that is what's going to drive the capacity we need. You look at Hong Kong right now, we're a tiny little speck of dust on the planet. Yeah. Hong Kong is this tiny little place. We've got our predicted shortage of people with the skills for the industry here by 2025 is 760,000. Yeah. And that's just here. Imagine in Japan, Marie's favorite country, and Phil, where you're sitting right now. Imagine in Japan, where you've got, Japan's got kind of the ultimate statistical demographic, where they've got, the oldest population in the world. And so effectively, you've got the largest population who's not paying income tax in kind of simplified terms. So you've got the smallest population having to earn money to pay the income tax, which supports the biggest population. So that means the income is getting lower and the bill's getting bigger. Now, a way to get the people in the income earning population to be earning more. One, let the machines take over the trivial stuff. And we already see Japan as one of the leading countries in the world doing that. The Japanese government know this. They need the simple stuff to be done by the machines, because that's where they're actually getting extra humans. It's not replacing humans. They're getting the extra humans from machines to do the cheap jobs. And then they need to upskill the humans to do all the expensive jobs. And then they get more income tax, and then they can pay for everyone. And how do you do that? You need an army of people who are going to be coming to Japan, or people who are already in Japan, who can teach digital skills and can upskill the population. This isn't just, it's in a simple terms, for someone, it could be a travel opportunity. But when you look at populations like this, when you look at the entirety of Europe, when you look at Japan, when you look at China, you are going to be, this is a global economic imperative. And that's where we're just getting started now, but this is the future. This is what we're putting together, is these tutors are really the future of economies developing and functioning in the right way.
Okay, so this is fantastic stuff already. And for people who are listening, this is not just a plug for a course, although there is a course which we will talk about with Marie just in a second, but it's about the marketplace and the opportunities that are there. And of course, if people wish to take this course or look further by themselves, that's entirely up to them. But tell me about the opportunity for the course that you're running, Marie. What's traditionally, what kind of courses did you run? Was it traditionally TEFL, CELTA equivalent courses? And do you still run those and run this as well? So can you kind of run through what you offer in your college?
Okay, I guess to give you a little bit about my philosophy in business. My philosophy in business is always the obviously coming from training and having a big cohort of teachers, is the fact that the training has to be top of the range, has to be quality, and then there's got to be an outcome for that training. There's, as Chris mentioned as well, schools, have taught the kids, but nothing to prepare them for the workplace. And I've always seen that. I was born in Fiji, so our system was based on the British system. But when I'm talking about when we are still part of the British colony, we were a Commonwealth. So that was when I was last in school. So our whole system was based on the British system. And, my belief is, yes, education is fantastic, but education's got to prepare you for the real world. And this has always been my philosophy. So the best training with the best outcome. It's always been the end result for my students, for my graduates, So we've actually, because we are in Southeast Asia, it's the same. It's an acronym for TESOL, TEFL, whatever you want to call it, which is the same thing. So we've actually called ourselves ATA TESOL College, which TESOL is what we promote. But on our certification, we'll have the other acronym, which is TEFL. So we've done we've been doing this for almost 2 decades. Next year will be 20 years. We equip our native speakers or fluent speakers of English the skills to be able to deliver an English class effectively but professionally. And we've added that little edge to our training. We have a whole, probably 2 chapters on cultural understanding, because most of our people travel. Most of our people go overseas to teach. That's where the demand is. We believe it's not all about in the classroom. You got to appreciate the culture, the country, the customs outside the classroom. We make sure the whole experience is a rewarding and an amazing experience. And this is where our expertise is. So when Peter came to me, I thought we are the expert in this area. We've got the outcomes. One of the things I'm big on is partnerships. I have contacts in China, I have contacts in Japan. We're one of probably the only, maybe if there is another one that's just caught on, we actually always had in the 2 decades, and this is credit to my DOS, not to me, the private tutoring. So when Peter came to me regarding digital literacy, I guess one of the things I could have done, Chris, is get a whole group of people and put together a program, but that's not how I operate. I always operate in the area where I've got expertise in, and then go to somebody like BSD for their expertise. So the program is actually a combination of 2 great experts, rather than me putting it all together and say, hang on, here's ATA's digital literacy. The branding will be co-branded as well, because I will be responsible for the actual TESOL component. Chris and his team will be responsible for the BSD component. So we've got 2 great experts delivering their programs. And that's how I look at the program we'll be talking to shortly. And if Chris want to add something about the digital literacy, because that's not my area of expertise.
So I just want to move on to the next part, which is, thanks for the segue as usual, Marie. So tell me about the offer here that we have. So we've talked about the need. We know the caliber of the people giving the course and designing it. So how much does it cost? How long does it take? What are the opportunities, and how much can people possibly add to their bottom line at the end of it?
Okay, I will start with the ESL component, because that's the area that I've got 2 decades of expertise, and Chris might want to do the other. It's a 120-hour program. ATA will deliver the 60 hours part of it, which is the TESOL training, equipping them with the skills to be able to impart the English language effectively and professionally. 60 hours comes with all the video tutorials. You've got close to a 500-page manual. There will be assessments. They do actually do a mock teaching, which is evaluated by our trainers. We have to see them actually teaching. They can put on a virtual student, or they can have a real student, which will evaluate them as well. We also have a closed group. As I said, Japan is my favorite country. We used to host international interns from Japan through Australian internship. And I've got a big Facebook group of them, which we still maintain. And we recommend, obviously it's not compulsory, and most of our graduates partake in it, is to do practice teaching when I say practice teaching, it's volunteer, they don't get paid for it, to the international internship group that we have. The great part about that internship group from Japan, mostly from Japan, but there are also some from Europe. And again, geographically, it was Asia, and Japan was the area. And we work with Griffith University on this. And they've already spent 12 weeks at Griffith University acquiring the language. And they've done 12 weeks internship with me under the directionship of my trainers. And The great part of this volunteer package or practicum, I like to call it more a practicum package, and they can do as long as they want or as little as they want. They've actually been teaching students, actual Japanese students, they've gone through the internship with me and they know exactly what to expect in their teaching because they've worked under my teachers for 12 weeks. So they will be able to say, hang on, you're trying to teach me 20 words in a 45-minute lesson. It's not going to work, right? And actually, I came into Japan also and met up, I don't know whether you know him, Guy from Word Engine.
Yeah, sure. Guy and I are good friends, yeah.
I had
know very well,
Guy.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. We use the Word Engine V-test to get their levels and things like that. So yeah, and they can then take on, but TOEIC is big in Japan. So yeah, I met Guy for lunch. Yeah, so we work with the Word Engine as well. So what they get is something. What I believe the universities deliver a TESOL program. Even Griffin University sends their students to us because we are very practical. We are very much about industry, very much about vocational. We're very much about putting you out there to be able to work. And then obviously when you ask me about outcome, we work with jobs in Japan, Ajahn, because we used to deliver programs in Vietnam prior to the pandemic with Educat. They place our teachers. One of my teachers has a big school on the border of Vietnam and Cambodia. Every time anybody wants to do a short stint and get some actual practice in class teaching, because Chris is now the GM of the school, they can go in for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or whatever they want. They provide them with accommodation, meals, and a little scooter to whip around in. The traffic's nothing like Ho Chi Minh City, in a place called Long Swain, which is the food bowl of the Mekong. And they can do even a actual full hands-on classroom teaching if they wish before they go into a thing. And that is why my rapport, my partnership with schools is amazing because they know our teachers can do the job. It's not just here it is, there it is.
Okay, and Chris, would you like to add to that, sir?
Yeah, so like as Marie said, within the 120-hour program, 60 hours is on TESOL, and then the other 60 hours is on the digital skills, call it bringing that teacher into digital skills. And obviously one of the components one of the first components is we've got some basic upskilling with the teachers coming in. So when we've got the course progression that my professional learning team have created, the first part of that is just some basic upskilling. Now, what we're not trying to do with that, and what we've learned in upskilling thousands of teachers, is we don't want the educator coming in to feel like they've got to remember everything. Okay, so the initial process is really familiarizing the teacher in training or the prospective educator with the resources that they've got, the support that's available to them, and some of the concepts and methodologies of technology. Then the second phase is really giving them some exposure to the hard skills. In the end, we want to get people in that frame of mind when we're training them to teach technology, that it's not a question of learn everything and then try and do it. It's a question of learn a bit and then do it and then go along, because that's the way they're also going to be working with their students. And so we bring them into the learning experience in the same way that they will then transfer that learning experience to their students. I think that's different to an English language teacher because they're coming in with native fluency from the beginning. So we're getting them into a different mindset. It's a slightly different process. And then there are opportunities, of course, for educators, if they're learning with us, to potentially engage in some co-teaching and things with existing BSD classes happening around the world. But in the end, the other piece is they also learn how to, if you like, navigate the educational classroom in relation to tech education. So, what are the types of questions that will come up? How do you answer the questions in a respect to not just providing the student the answer, but when you're talking about technology, how do you challenge the student to figure it out for themselves, but how do you guide them with the context of the question? So how does it fit to the real world, etc. So that's very much the way that learning journey goes through with the prospective educators. And at the end of that, they finish up with this never-ending support ecosystem. So one of the things we've also found with bringing educators up in the technology domain is it's not a question of just doing and cutting the cord. You know, you've heard Marie speak already about the way that she's taking her educators into Vietnam. There's this kind of ongoing mentorship, really, with the teachers that have qualified with us, and you know, we function in very much that way as well. So we have a virtual team of technology coaches. So any of those educators, once they get into teaching, they're never more than 5 minutes away from a human that can help them and can give them advice in the classroom scenario situation. They can get those coaches to come in, have a look what they're doing, and even give them help debugging a challenge with a kid. So that is, it's really familiarization first, comfortable with some technology upskilling, the in classroom practice of the technology educator, and then finally building trust in the support that will never leave them. And so that's really the process. And at the end of all of that as well, the educator that comes through the program, they finish up with a CPD Standards Office certificate. So this training process that we've created, we've also had it it's called inspected and checked by the CPD Standards Office in the UK, which specializes in professional learning certifications. And so those teachers are coming out with a recognized certification from the process. And they're ready to go to the world to either tutor or to teach group classes. And that's where they go. You know, that's the way the process works.
Okay, and can you? I know it's difficult to say from country to country, but what kind of going rate can a technology teacher get?
Yeah, so one of the things we look at is typically when you look at market rates, a lot of the rate that a teacher can expect to earn is driven by what a student would expect to pay, and the thing is with a technology classroom or technology teaching and learning, an educator, they can comfortably teach a class online with students up to kind of 12 students. If it's more of a hands-on class, we typically recommend cap at about 12 students. If it's more of a theoretical, if it's a lesson or a workshop where you're directing your students into group discussions and breaking them out into teams, then of course you can build out to more students. But typically what we find is around the Asia region, students pay anything from $10 to $20 an hour for classes, and a teacher who is teaching technology learning can earn anything from anything from about $10 to $20 an hour in the most in the poorest economies, or the most developing economies. But then as soon as you're looking at developed economies, the rate for a technology tutor can go from anything from, and when I'm saying dollars, I'm talking US dollars, from 40 up to 100 US dollars an hour. There are many circumstances. If you're tutoring and you've got your technology tutoring to a level where you might be helping a student learn about artificial intelligence or something like that, then, and if you're private tutoring, there's no reason why you can't get up there to that $75 to $100 an hour mark. So there really is incredibly strong opportunities for these teachers. But yeah, when you're starting out as a technology teacher, you're probably on average you're going to be looking at 25 to 40 US dollars an hour, and then you're going to be moving up from there to as I said, you can move north up to 100 with a bit of experience.
Okay, so the course itself, Marie, how much does it cost?
Okay, for the 120-hour program, 60 hours by ATA and 60 hours by BSD. So you've got two skill sets, which I believe both very valuable. We've got it for $1,998 US dollars. And if they go through EFL magazine, which we will give them a coupon code, which is EFL MAG, which is Echo Foxtrot Lima Mike Alpha Golf. if they go to our website, which is www.atatesolcollege.com.
Don't worry, Marie, I'll put it in the show notes anyway, so they don't have to remember.
Yeah. Okay. All right. They will get a 10% discount.
It's been great chatting to you both today. So we talked a little bit about teachers and independent contractors, but if schools and other businesses want to work with you or learn more about teaching technology or partnering, what's the best way, Chris and Marie, to get in contact? I can put in the show notes as well.
Go through you, send a contact like Peter did.
Okay.
And happy if there's big volume, I can negotiate with Chris and we can work together with a package, obviously. Like anything with volume, I'm sure Chris and I will come to the party. And obviously, as a gang, there will be a retainer for you as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the things I would say with Marie on that as well is, where the school connects with us, they might say, well, this is all great, but how do we know what the teachers are going to teach afterwards? How do we know what they're going to teach and how that lines up with what we do as a school? And, we can advise the schools on that. So we've got, between Marie's team and my team as well, we have our educational teams within our organizations, and we can advise those schools on where that that kind of curricular progression for their students will go in there. So we're equipped to kind of call it advise that in as an institutional solution.
Okay, good. So Chris Geary and Marie Parnell, thank you again.
Thanks for listening to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast with Philip Pound. For more great advice and resources, check out eflmagazine.com. If you found this podcast helpful, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.